Most people are so ungrateful to be alive. But not you. Not anymore. Game over.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to a brand new episode of Filmoscopy Podcast. Woo!
Yeah. It's been a while. In my butt.
One of us is gonna have to cut off our own dicks to survive this episode.
Okay, I vote Owen.
Hello,
Right.
Filmoscopy
It's
Podcast.
already been done. Hey, already ahead of you.
Hey, well, never mind. Cody's the one that got married, so he's already had his dick cut off.
Oh, ayo. Well,
The,
I need a soundboard. Woo!
Dude, we need something, because all the audio effects I want to put into something, I mean, obviously it takes a pain in the butt for you to edit into. I'm like, God, I want, like, if we were recording the Spawn episode, I just want one button to push the, my, what a wonderful dress. I wonder if she's got in my size. And Cody, I'm just curious right now, because I thought about that, and I really thought I had that clip ready for you, and I didn't. Do you ever think about that scene when you're just randomly by yourself, just for a moment, you just think, my.
I'll be honest. I've not thought about the Saw movie since we did the episode on it, or
Oh,
the Spawn movie. I mean,
Yeah, dude, I am just like, my, what a wonderful dress. I'll do it randomly in front of Savannah and Riley all the time. And so Riley goes, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "What a wonderful dress." It's so. I love that scene so much. It's like, man. Oh, it just starts off with that.
you leave the room, and Riley's like, "Mom, there's something wrong with Lance," and she's like, "I know. I'm just trying to find the right time for us to escape."
I guess we should introduce ourselves, and then I'll get my quick review of a new movie that just came out.
Yeah, so I'm today's host, Cody, and on the left side of the room, chained up to a pipe, is Lance,
Hello.
and on the other side of the room, chained up to a pipe, is Owen.
Oh, get me the fuck out of here!
So I messed up, Cody. Can you do that one more time? Introduce me.
Okay, on the left side of the room, chained up to a pipe, is Lance.
Kobe?
No, I don't even remember what the fuck Dr. Phil says.
Dr. Phil goes, "You've been taken against your will," and he's like, "Kobe?"
We were talking about it just before you got on, and I was like, dude, that has like one of the funnier jokes in any scary movie when fucking Dr. Phil is like sawing off his foot, and then he's like looks down, and he's like, "Oh shit, wrong foot."
Yeah, Shaq. Shaq's over here like talking him into it, like for reverse psychology, and he looks at the camera and smiles, and then he's like, "Oh," and Dr. Phil's like, "What?" He goes, "Wrong foot," and he's like, "Shit." Oh, like I know people. It's not a popular opinion. I like Scary Movie 3 and 4 more than 1 and 2 because it's the people that made the Naked Gun movies and Airplane that did those two, and I just find that shit hilarious. Like I've talked about it a lot. The dad carrying what he thinks is his daughter through the forest when they're making fun of War of the Worlds, and he's like, He's talking to his son. He's like, "I've been carrying your sister for the last 3 miles." She's like, "I've been walking this whole time." He goes, "Well, who is?" And he pulled off at this little elf-looking dude. He goes, "I'll pay you."
Yeah, Owen and I were talking about that too because I've been watching the scary movies over the last few days, and I've watched the first 3, and I think that the second one is still the funniest out of the first 3, but the first one is the worst one out of the first 3.
I have a loyalty to like certain actors I like to watch, and Leslie Nielsen is one of those actors I watch that I have.
Oh yeah,
just, like,
I mean he's great in
undying
Scary
loyalty
Movie
to.
3.
He's phenomenal.
It did make me laugh, that scene that we talk about it a lot, but when it's the scene where it's parodying the car crash, from Signs. He's like,
Dude,
Hey, I'm
it's
gonna
so
need a ride
fucking
home.
funny. Dude, I had tears in my eyes when I saw that shit.
He's like, by the way, I'm gonna need a ride home. God,
Can I get a ride home?
it's really funny if you have seen Signs, like you watched it and you've never seen either movie. So you watch Signs and then you go watch that movie and just see that scene. It's fucking incredible.
you know, she's like, don't ever remarry. He's like, of course. And she's like, and no sex. And he's like, oh, what? He's like, shh, I think you're fading away. We've lost her. And just like trying to close her eyes.
That shit's funny, man. Ugh.
Man.
So,
yeah,
today's episode, Cody, is going to be your movie, and we're recording
out of order.
Rigoletto, right? The musical movie.
I don't. Oh, no. I don't think I could yes and that one.
I watched that movie one time in like music class in like 8th grade, and I fucking loved it. I hate musicals. That's probably why I'll never go see Joker 2.
What movie?
But it's called Rigoletto. It's maybe it was a made-for-TV movie. It probably was. But it's just like this disfigured like musical guy who's he's hoarded up in his house, kind of like Phantom of the Opera, but it's not violent. And this girl stumbles upon him who's trying to sing, and he teaches her to sing, and the townspeople think he's doing something corrupt to her, and then they burn his house down and kill him, and all this other. It's like really, that's a fucking an 8th grader's remembrance of it. I liked the movie. I even got it on VHS because I thought it was a really nice tone, but I never watched it again. So I couldn't even spell it to you, to be honest with you. I think it's R-E something, R-E-T-A-R-D. Anybody catch that?
Yeah, I did. I was like, I don't know if that's it or not.
So, yeah. All right, but before Cody starts babbling on about how this is one of the greatest horror movie series of all time, when it's quite obvious it's not compared to, I don't know, Insidious.
Oh, Lord, don't even.
I did a fake out there. I know Cody was thinking I was about to say Friday the 13th, but I threw some humor in there for you people.
Oh, yeah.
But James Wan created all this, so, I mean, you know. Yeah, so I'm going to do a quick review of a movie that just came out. We're recording this in real time. This is November 2nd? 3rd? Oh, 2nd. The 5th is Election Day, which is coming up. So hopefully by the time this comes out, we have the right leadership in office. And I don't mean the R-E-T-A-R-D. So
Wait,
the
we're talking about
movie
Rigoletto again?
Yeah, Rigoletto.
Not the
So
R-A-P-I-S-T.
I watched a movie that I was extremely excited for. And I've been a defender of the series since this came out. And I saw Venom: The Last Dance. So, I have a problem. I get too excited when I want to watch something. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to read any spoilers. But then I get on Rotten Tomatoes to look at the score because I want people to like the same things I like. And the scores are not so good, and I end up picking up a few spoilers in the credits or on the Wikipedia page when I'm looking at it, unfortunately. So I knew Venom 3 didn't get a great reception, again, by the critics, but it has a good audience score. It's got an 80% audience score, but not as many people are seeing it. I still hope the movie can get close to 500 million. And it's already over 200 million at least. It's going to be worldwide. I would say probably 250 by the end of the day. So I've made the joke with Cody that, the Batman's way too long. Like multiple times. That movie's 2 hours and 45 minutes long. It's longer than the longest Dark Knight movie, which is The Dark Knight Rises. Sony has a thing where when they edit things in these superhero movies they put out, it's like there's no transitions. and it's like Star Wars, but if you take those weird scene transitions, like the original movie, the screen will kind of float over and you're in a new screen. Like there's no transitions; it's just like boom.
Yeah, the screen effects for like they do the fucking aperture closing and stuff. The screen swipes and stuff.
Exactly. Yes. So Sony has that kind of transition, but they don't have that kind of effect. It's like boom, 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 boom. So going into this movie, I had heard what a lot of people said negatively about it. So I think I allowed it to affect me in a way. And then after seeing it, I saw it last week, opening weekend. And I was going to see it again, and I'm probably going to take my dad around Thanksgiving weekend because we're going to be off for 4 days to go see it. So in the last week, I watched the first Venom movie, and I watched Venom: Let There Be Carnage again. And knowing that I'm not getting any more Venom movies, and I got a trilogy on a Spider-Man villain / anti-hero that people said could never carry its own movie, then it couldn't carry a sequel, then it couldn't carry a trilogy, which it has, because the first two movies together grossed $1.3 billion, which is pretty good. So I find that there's a victory in that. Like I said, I hope this movie can get up to at least $500 million, if not $400 million, because at least it will make a little money. I do think a lot of people are looking at this movie as kind of a wait till it gets to home video. I can watch it. But I enjoy it. When I went back and watched it, I loved it. Like, I had an appreciation knowing, like, okay, I'm not getting any more Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock. I'm not getting any more Venom. And I watched the first movie. I'm like, I really liked it. I didn't have any cringe moments. I usually watch it and a couple moments. I'm like, that's kind of rough. Didn't have that this time. I watched Venom: Let There Be Carnage. I really liked it again. And I watched this movie today. I'm like, it's good. I even teared up at the end a little bit. And this movie actually made me like a Maroon 5 song, which I would never thought I would say in a million years. It's Memories. Probably their biggest song.
Yeah, is that the Here's to the one that we got? Or is that the wrong song?
Here's to the cops that we suck.
I think that's their biggest hit they've had, if I'm not mistaken. They're not featuring another artist.
Here's to the ass that we fuck.
So, I would definitely recommend anybody when this episode comes out, it's probably going to be out of theaters, but just watch it. Like I said, people online, and me and Cody back in flashback to 2017 when they were filming this movie, we were very, not anti-Marvel, but we were very pro all comic book movies. And there's a huge discrepancy between Marvel fans, MCU fans, and then everybody else. And a lot of people, again, like politics or sports, they pick a side. And we were very much like both of them. We wanted everybody to be successful. Batman versus Superman came out, and that was, kind of a disappointment at $875 million, which is incredible to say. An $875 million movie is a disappointment. I mean, just couldn't imagine. And then Venom came out and made $20 million less than that, which is pretty incredible for a villain movie. But everybody was like, no, Marvel would do so much better with these. And I'm a pro wrestling fan, and so is Cody. But Cody was too young to really remember the transition when WCW got bought by the WWF. And I wasn't watching it at the time, but I've seen documentaries.
I remember that.
What, Cody?
I started watching wrestling. Like, my earliest memories of watching wrestling during the Monday Night Wars. I remember.
Do you remember when there was just no WCW, or was it kind of a blur?
I specifically remember watching, because I watched WCW quite a bit. I don't remember if I was watching WCW though, or WW, Raw or whatever, but where you get the clip of Vince McMahon, he's like, I've bought my competition or whatever. I do remember seeing that when it happened, like that clip or whatever on TV. And then it's just like, oh, and then, you had the whole invasion shit that happened after that and everything. So,
okay. Well, I thought you'd be a little too young to remember it.
No, like I said, that would have been 2001, right? So, I was 9 years old when that happened.
Okay. Well, I would have been 13. And like I said, for me, I'm very much a fan. I'll pick a character and I'll watch for a certain character. But that doesn't mean I'm entirely loyal to a genre. Like pro wrestling, I watched when the Ultimate Warrior was on. When the Ultimate Warrior wasn't on, he disappeared. Didn't watch it anymore. Like he left WCW. There was a big space in wrestling where I only remember a few episodes that I watched. I just didn't watch it. And then I found Jeff Hardy, like 2002, and then that kind of picked up for me. But when Jeff wasn't on, or his appearances were more sporadic, I didn't watch. I just didn't care. So for me, I like comic book movies, but my favorite character is Venom. So I do have a loyalty to this character. And for me, it is important who's under the symbiote. Because I feel like if Marvel had gotten it, they would have done something similar to what the Sony Spider-Man 2 game that just came out a year ago or 2 years ago did, where they just put somebody else in the Venom suit. It's like, oh, it doesn't matter if it's Eddie Brock or not. And it does to me because I remember the origins of the character. So I'm glad Sony put out these Venom movies. I got an Eddie Brock. He may not be comic book Eddie Brock, but comic book Eddie Brock looks like Brock Lesnar, and I don't want to look at that for fucking an hour and a half. So, like Eddie Brock, human is like 6'3", 280 pounds, and he's got Olympic body strength before he bonds with the symbiote. So that's Brock Lesnar. I mean, I don't know, like that's what he would look like. He even has a fucking flat top haircut in the comics. But so I got Tom Hardy as Venom, and they skipped the Spider-Man thing. Everybody's like, well, it's kind of essential. I'm like, well, look, they kind of made it work. Like, you really didn't have to have Spider-Man in this. And Spider-Man, I didn't miss having Spider-Man in any of these movies. It would have been nice to have seen Spider-Man show up. That would have been really cool to have that final face-off, which we still might in Secret Wars. I have a feeling that Kevin Feige might put that in there for just a little bit. But I think Sony fell into something good with Venom. I don't think they had some grandiose plan that it was going to be this successful, because the other movies haven't been successful. But I feel like Sony has a bias against it because they want them to give Spider-Man rights back to Marvel. And I just know that if Marvel/Disney owns everything, that's a bad thing for the industry, because the only movies that make money are comic book movies or Tom Cruise movies. It's the only two things. So if Disney's the only one making money with their comic book movies, and Sony doesn't have Spider-Man anymore, so they don't have an option to even make movies anymore, then it's just bad for the industry. And like I said, I don't think DC's blooming DC universe is going to be successful. I'm not trying to be pessimistic. I think you had your chance in like this wave, and like now comic book movies are dying in popularity. I don't think like what they have planned is actually going to happen, because I don't think these movies are going to make the money. Because Warner Brothers, if you look at their net worth, I looked it up. I think it's like $12 billion is their net worth. But I also saw an article they're like $8 billion in the hole. And then you got Disney, who's like $124 billion worth, and Sony's like worth $107 billion. So it's like heads and shoulders. Like Sony, obviously, the film division is just a smaller compartment of a big company. But that just shows you how far away DC is. And I do not think that James Gunn is going to be the savior that they think it is. Especially if he just makes Superman, like Superman meets Guardians of the Galaxy. It's like, well, your third Guardians of the Galaxy didn't really make as much money. I mean, it grossed like $800-something million, but the budget was like $300 million. I know they. I was looking up the thing, the Ant-Man movie, Cody and Owen, the one with Kang in it. What was that one called?
Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Okay, so I was looking up, just like looking at the movies, like what Marvel's made. And Ant-Man and Quantumania was like $275 to $300 million budget, and it made like $659 million.
Yeah.
The profit that Disney got from that movie was just like $50 million when it was all said and done. This was like some report came out. So Disney's spending all these money on the movies, and I mean, you have to make a lot of money to do that. That's probably why Disney's like so pro, like let's use AI on everything, so they don't have to pay anybody anything anymore. But like the Venom movie, like I was telling the guys, there's 4 MCU movies, and Spider-Man Far From Home, not No Way Home. Far From Home, 4 of the 11 MCU movies that made more money than Venom, and one of the 4 only made $3 million more. So it's like, Venom was pretty successful when people want to sit there and say, well, if the MCU had done this with Venom, like, dude, they wouldn't have had time to do anything with Venom, and I don't think Kevin Feige had any interest in doing Venom. So I'm pretty happy I got what I got, and hopefully there's a little Venom cameo in Spider-Man. I don't know. I think Owen would probably just feel meh, like it's okay when he watches Venom 3 because we will cover it on the podcast. And I think Cody has a chance of either hating it or kind of liking it. It just depends on the mindset he goes in with it. He was like, oh, there's no Spider-Man in it. It's like, well, piss on Spider-Man. The fucking special effects in this, they got the symbiotes looking fucking awesome in this movie. Like, the Venom eyes, when the symbiote's talking to Eddie, is like displaying more emotion. Like, you can tell it's worried or it's sad or it's mad. Like, the eyes reflecting is really fucking cool.
Or it's horny.
So they done horny. There's no horny moments other than like people want to make more than what it is. But yeah, I would definitely recommend Venom 3, and I'm happy I got it. I just hope it makes the money so I can just shove it in people's faces. And Tom Hardy says he wanted to come back to do a Logan-esque Venom rated R movie. And I was kind of thinking, I rewatched Deadpool and Wolverine. I bought it on Blu-ray.
Me too.
Yeah, I bought it, and it's like, you know what? And somebody said, like, there's some people that think it's a bad movie, and I'm watching it, I'm like, if it wasn't just Hugh Jackman as Wolverine back, I don't know how much I would actually like the movie if it was just like a Deadpool 3. And, the fact he makes jokes towards the camera, I'm like, I think that stuff kind of hides the weakness of the movie. Like, I watched it, I loved it, and I'm over here thinking, like, I don't know how good this movie's going to age in the future. Like, am I going to like it in 5 years?
I mean, that's Deadpool, though. I mean, him breaking the fourth wall and stuff, that's always been Deadpool. Like,
no, I know that. And I'm just saying, like, I think...
Stuff.
No, I understand that. I'm not saying that that's like some new thing. I'm just saying I think that hides any deficiencies in the script when people go, oh, that's kind of weak. And he'll look at the screen and go, yeah, it was pretty weak. They're like, hey, that's kind of clever. Like, everybody thinks it's real clever and stuff like that. I'm like, I rewatched Deadpool. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty good. And I rewatched Deadpool 2. I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. It's not great. And then I watched that one. I fucking loved it. And I'm like, is that just because I love Hugh Jackman as Wolverine that I really love this movie? I mean, I'd be interested to see how I feel in like 2 years after I watched it a couple more times ago. I'm like, yeah, it's like, I don't go back and watch any MCU movies, really. Like, I couldn't tell you the last time I saw Homecoming or Far From Home or No Way Home. And No Way Home I fucking loved at the time. I'm like, I feel like watching, I don't know, Batman. But I don't watch the Batman, even though I keep looking at it. I don't know. I'm kind of in this weird spot with comic book movies. Like, I want to go see Kraven because I think that might actually be decent. Because that dude, oh boy, he looks like a McCulkey brother. You talking
about the guy that plays Kraven?
Yeah, Aaron.
I think it's Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Yeah, that guy. He actually looks pretty dope as a character. Like when he has a little jacket on and shit. And, I kind of liked him in the first Godzilla movie that came in 2014. I hadn't really watched anything else with him in it. But I'm like, it piques my interest. But then again, it's like, we also want to watch Nosferatu. It's kind of weird just going to movie theaters in general. Like, the seats are comfortable, but it's also like, fuck, man. I don't really know. I tell you one thing. I bought this Venom bust. When I went to go see it, they got this Venom thing from like the shoulders to his head. It's like something you put popcorn in its mouth and eat out of.
Yeah, a bucket.
And no. Like this does not look like a bucket.
No. They're referred to as popcorn buckets. But
no.
yeah,
I understand that. Hold on.
They make them all like super weird looking. But yeah, because they had one for Alien Romulus. It was just the Xenomorph's head, and the popcorn went into the long part of its head.
Hold on. Stop recording. How do I get this damn thing to change cameras? Oh, back camera. Yeah, back my ass. Alright, this is what it looks like, guys.
Alright, hold on.
Yeah. Now,
put
your hand.
It's not a tradition. I mean, it's a popcorn bucket, but it's really like just a replica of Venom's head. You can stick your dick in.
Put your hand in its mouth.
You could fuck that. Damn, that thing is like, I don't know. I didn't think it was that big until you put your hand
it
in its
is.
mouth.
That's what she said.
Yep.
Anyway,
Yeah, like
but here's
every
the thing, though.
major movie nowadays is like coming out with like their own popcorn buckets. It's like crazy, and they're
Yeah, so
expensive too.
I'll tell you. Okay, so let me tell you this story. All right, so they had a Venom cup that's like just a cup, and it looks like it's covered in the Venom symbiote with the Venom head poking out. And when I got there, like I said, I went there Friday night. The movie opened Thursday. Got there Friday night around like 6 o'clock. Theater wasn't really that busy. I'm like, hey, do you got the Venom cup? And they're like, actually, we're all sold out. I'm like, are you kidding me? Is what I was thinking. And like later on, I looked at the other three theater chains that we have in like kind of in the vicinity of the South, like Cinemark and AMC theaters, and they had few Venom things, and they were all sold out of their shit. But Regal had like the coolest thing, that cup and that thing, that Venom thing. So I go, can I get that Venom popcorn bucket? Okay, cool. So he gets it, and I get like my large Pepsi Icy, and I look down at the thing, and like I said, I got no popcorn. Okay, I just bought the bucket, no popcorn, because I don't want to eat popcorn. My hands get greasy. I don't have any hand wipes on me. I look down. This fucking bucket was $39.99.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And I kept it too. I'm like, I'm keeping this. As soon as I bought it, I got scanned my ticket with the kid. I'm like, hey man, I'm gonna run outside and throw this bucket in my truck so I don't carry it into the bathroom with me. He goes, oh yeah, that's fine. Because I had to pee. I'm like, every time I go to the movie theater, I'll pee. I'll sit down at the movie after we get through the previews. I'm like, fuck, I gotta pee one more time. I can't help it. But when I'm at work, I can hold my piss for like 6 hours not thinking about it. It makes no sense. But yeah, so movie theaters, I can definitely tell it's dying. It's kind of weird that it's dying like it is. It feels weird. Like it's going in our lifetime, there won't be any more movie theaters. Everybody's just gonna be watching shit from the home. And I'm gonna miss having Pepsi Ices. That's for sure, man. I love Icy so much. But yeah, that's the whole Venom thing and comic book movies, theaters. Like I said, I didn't have any annoying kids, but today I had some fucking weird. I don't know what the fuck was going on. Everybody was quiet. Everybody laughed at a few of the Venom jokes. Probably not as much as they were intending it to land. But when we're in the middle of the credits, dude, this fucking kid is like yelling at the other kids he's with. He's like, the fucking skeet's going off. And I'm like, I look over, I'm like, what in the fuck? Am I about to be a witness to something? He's like, this dude is the shortest kid of the bunch. Like, they're a bunch of like teenagers, like 14, 15. This dude looks like he's fucking 9. He's like, he's like, what do you mean fucking stop? I'm like, oh my God, is it really like worth it to stay for the second bonus scene? I stayed anyway. But it was just fucking funny. It's like, that's the kind of shit you run into.
Yeah.
And then evidently at this...
It'd be funny if you just saw some like little kids beating the shit out of each other. You're like, hey guys, keep it down, right? I'm trying to watch the post credits, all right?
Hey guys, calm down. Let me get my camera out.
Yeah, settle down, kids. Let me film this and put it on Reddit.
It's just funny. So Cody, in the next month, is Nosferatu Christmas weekend or the weekend before Christmas?
It comes out on Christmas Day, I think. But we'll go see it that Saturday, so like the 28th or whatever.
Okay, I'll definitely be off work because I'm gonna be off 5 days that Christmas week, and then I got work 2 days, and I'm off starting that weekend, and then off for 5 days. So we can. I don't know if Owen's cool with it because my apartment's kind of damp and dank, and I also got birds that will not shut the fuck up. If we just go back to Owen's place, have a nice little circle jerk, and then go back to our houses and record separately. We're just going to jerk each other off, say I do, and then when you get home, we'll start recording. Fuck it. But no, I saw I finally watched the trailer to Nosferatu. I'm like, yeah, this sounds pretty good. I bet you it makes less money than Morbius, though.
Nosferatu.
Yeah, we'll see.
It depends on the length of the movie.
Dude, that's not fair, dude. Morbius got 2 re-releases, okay?
I know. It made a whopping like $45,000 the second release.
Yeah, because I think it's because Sony thought people were being genuine online when they were talking about how great Morbius was, and they're like, "Oh, we should put this back in theaters."
I think everybody thinks Sonys are dumb, but I think if anything has any kind of online traction that it's trending, why wouldn't you try to do something? Like when Monday Night Raw was trending and we had just released the wrestler episode, I put fucking Monday Night Raw and like John Cena hashtags all on my tweet just to get people to look at the tweet. So I think Sony, I don't think they're dumb enough to sit there and think, people actually may like this movie. No, I think they know that people were making fun of it. They were just kind of hoping people would go see it, and probably wouldn't hurt them to have the theaters re-release it. Because remember, that's like, what, 6-7 months coming off COVID, so the theaters probably wanted something in the theaters anyway. February is kind of a dead time anyway for movies. Yeah. So, but no, it's just funny when we see movies like that when they make fun of it. It's like, look how little money it made. Then you sit there and watch like that Renfield movie that they came out with, a Universal, that's got Nicolas Cage as Dracula.
Yeah.
That movie, I think, barely made. Hold on, let me look that up. Renfield. And it's supposed to be a comedy movie. But people
it is a comedy, but it's just really bad.
Oh yeah, that movie was like really anti-funny.
Yeah, it sucked. I was disappointed too because I was so looking forward to Nicolas Cage as Dracula, and I was like, man, this movie's just doo doo.
I mean, look, so we'll make fun of Morbius for having a $65 to $75 million budget and made $167.5 million. But this movie, the Renfield movie, had a $65 million budget and made a whopping $26.9 million.
Yeah.
So it's like, woo!
The trailer,
it's just kind of weird.
The trailer that you watched for Nosferatu, was it the one where she talks about like how you could never love me as he did or whatever? Is it the one that had that line in it?
I think so. I can't remember. I know it's the one that it was the first official release. It wasn't the teaser trailer, and if they've released one since, I haven't seen it.
I think they may have released a second trailer. I can't remember, but there's a trailer where like it's Lily Rose Depp's character says, "You could never love me as he did," and there was a comment on the trailer that just had me dying of laughter, where someone said, "No, man, she's for the cobblestone pathways."
No, you did tell me that in the text message. So I think I did see that trailer.
Okay.
I think the trailer I watched is the one that it was mainly just her talking. You had a little bit of William Dafoe in it. Talking.
Yeah. That's the one then. Yeah.
Okay.
And at the end, you see like him in the silhouette of like the curtain or whatever. Nosferatu's in the silhouette. Yeah.
Oh, another thing. Since we're talking about a Dracula, since everything is Dracula based.
Dracula and these nuts across your face.
That's fucking funny, Cody.
Not really.
So, I loved it, man. I got hard. So, unfortunately, this movie only had a budget of $45 million, only made $21.8 million. But I highly suggest anybody watching it when it gets to like, I mean, I would rent it. You know, I wouldn't sit there and be like, oh, let me just wait till it's completely free. But The Last Voyage of the Demeter. That's another Dracula movie that's more in line with the original description that Nosferatu ripped off of how Dracula looked. That's a very good movie. Like, they had like some twists and turns and shit like that, and it was like legit. Had like tension in it. I mean, it's not anything scary like Hereditary until the ending, which I hated. But it's pretty fucking good. Like, that's one of the better Dracula things, and it like. The actors, a lot of like, I mean, I wouldn't say they're well known. I hadn't really seen much of them, but it's pretty fucking good. If you get a chance to watch that movie, I know Cody says he wants to watch it when it gets to the free part because I mean, not free. We're paying for all these streaming services, but
yeah, whenever it comes to a streaming service outside of like Showtime or whatever it's on right now.
Yeah, see, I didn't realize that because we're borrowing quote unquote somebody's Paramount Plus, and I guess they're paying for that extra package to have the Showtime.
Yeah.
I saw like Last Voyage of Demeter, and I clicked it. I'm like, oh, damn, I didn't see anything that just said, oh, Showtime. Like, it was just available for me to watch.
If you're paying for the package, it doesn't show up that way because you have access to it. But, like, for me, I pay for just the Paramount Plus. And so, like, anything that's part of the Showtime package, it'll have, like, the icon on it or whatever.
Okay. Yeah, I had no idea. I was like, man, we just watched it. Savannah was falling asleep at the end because she was tired. I'm like, wake the fuck up!
Wake up!
Come here with the makeup. Dracula's about to put his dick in her.
Dick in her.
So, yeah, that's a very good vampire movie. And I'm hoping Nosferatu's good. I mean, if Robert Eggers, if he has done a good job of these other movies that we watch. Other than, I mean, it's a well-made movie, but I'd never watch it again, The Lighthouse. Hopefully this movie is good. I wonder, Cody, does it look like it's going to be in black and white, or is it kind of like just a really pale color palette?
No, yeah, I think it's just the colors are pretty muted, but it's not black and white.
Okay.
You can see
I'm
in
gonna
the
be excited
trailers
to see
there's
what
like some
Nosferatu looks like.
yeah, in the trailers there's like some like dull like blues and stuff, and I think at one point there's a shot of like someone holding a torch or something too, and it's like it's actual color. It's very muted. That's all.
Okay. Have you seen the trailer to the Wolfman that's coming out?
Yes, which I was actually going to bring that up because the writer / director of The Wolfman is Lee Wannell or whatever, Wannell. I'll say Wannell. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but the writer of Saw.
Oh, really?
Yes. So
Go, man. Go.
yeah, this would be his the third film I believe that he's completely written and directed on his own. The other two being, oh God, what was one of them was called like, hold on, I had his thing pulled up here. The first one was a movie called Upgrade in 2018, which I've never heard of.
Yeah, people love that movie.
But the one that I have seen that is really good was the 2020 Invisible Man movie.
Is that the one with the chick with like long blonde hair?
Yeah,
That's always the image I see.
Yeah, the actress from Handmaid's Tale is in it.
Okay.
But yeah, so this Wolfman will be his third film that he has directed, written, and executive produced, I guess, because he wrote and directed Insidious Chapter 3 also.
Yeah, him and James Wan must be boys.
They are. They met in film school in Australia, which I guess this is a good segue to start talking about Saw. They met in film school in Australia, and while they were there, they came up with an idea. They wanted to make a cheap horror film because they were inspired by the Blair Witch Project, and they came up with an idea of, let's make a movie where it's just two people in a room together, right? So they kind of threw around ideas. Eventually, they came up with the idea of two people being handcuffed on opposite sides of a bathroom with a dead body in the middle of the room. And they went and pitched it to studios, but they got shot down, like, because a lot of studios were like, I don't think this is going to work. So they made a cheaply made short film, which nowadays is referred to as Saw 0.5. But it's basically a proof of concept for Saw, where it revolves around the reverse bear trap section of the movie, although it has different actors and stuff in it, I believe. And I think it's been a while since I've watched it, but I think that Lee Wannell, who plays, also plays Adam in the movie. He plays a different character in the short film where he's like talking to the detectives about what happened. And so
that's Adam?
Yeah. Adam is Lee
dude,
Wannell.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I thought he fucking did a great performance in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, especially for someone
kind of weird, but maybe that was
His
just
mom's kind of weird.
Well,
this weird fucking fake Aussie American accent.
Well, it's because he's Australian trying to do an American
Yeah.
accent. And on the other side of the room, you got Carrie Elways, who's British, trying to do an American accent. So
Yeah,
That's,
sometimes his fault.
He's also he's that I know him from The Princess Bride and Robin Hood Men in Tights, but Princess Bride is the movie that Andre the Giant was in, and it's a really good book. I remember reading it in like fucking 5th grade or something like that, or maybe 6th grade. We read it in class and we watched the movie. I'm like, dude, it's Andre the Giant. Like, I'm the only one to give a shit about wrestling in the class. But I just remember
some kid in the class is like, "Shut up, nerd."
They're like, "Hey, we a bunch of So so it was kind of like, oh, dude, I recognize him. He has a wonderful head of hair. But I didn't realize that kid on the other screen was the co-writer of this movie. That's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you. I made that joke earlier. James Wan, he did this, and he did the first couple of Insidiouses, but he controlled that franchise along with the Conjuring franchises, right?
Yeah, so he's the producer of both of those franchises. Lee Wannell also wrote the first 3 Insidious movies, I believe. Yeah, so he wrote the first 3 Insidious films. He actually directed the third Insidious film, which was his directorial debut. But again, Upgrade was the first one that he like produced also, on as well as writing and directing. But yeah, so I was going to get into their film history real quick, but just to
Yeah, that's fine.
to finish off like how they actually got Saw made, which was their first film, period, coming out of film school. They made the proof of concept short film. They shopped that around, and finally, like, Lionsgate was like, okay, cool, we'll fund this. We think it'll actually work, which of course it's a safe bet that it did. There was actually some budgetary restrictions. They were actually going to get a larger budget if they would have cast somebody else in the role of Adam, because they did not want Lee Wannell to be Adam. They wanted it more like I mean, he had been in a few things in like very minor roles, but they wanted someone more like, I don't know, professional or whatever. And they said no, they were going to keep him in that role, so the budget was actually restricted to $1 million. And it ended up working out for him because obviously Saw brought in $103.9 million in the box office, making a whopping $102.9 million over budget. It's,
You know what's crazy is like, I mean, the biggest star in this movie at this time is Danny Glover.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, you know, he just come off of the Lethal Weapon movies. Like, this movie came out, was it 2002 or 2003?
2004.
2004, okay. So he's probably about 5-6 years off of Lethal Weapon 4. But he's still a huge fucking star from those movies. Yeah. And I remember watching this movie the first time on DVD. I didn't go see it in theaters. I remember watching it on DVD, and I saw it and was like, oh man, Danny Glover's in this fucking movie. Cool. I didn't realize that there was a huge franchise after this. Like, I knew there was a Saw 3. But then the ending for Danny Glover, I'm like, fuck, I can't believe they did that. Like, fucking Danny was like, he was the notoriety that I'm sure the studio was like, you got to have at least one name actor that people are going to recognize from blockbuster movies. Not blockbuster videos, but blockbuster movies in Hollywood.
Right.
And Danny Glover had to be the guy. I think Danny played fucking great as like an obsessed former cop trying to track down this one thing that got away from him.
Yeah, because the only other actor in this movie that would have been even somewhat known would be Cary Elwes, right? So,
and then his partner, Danny Glover's partner, I don't know the guy's name. He was in the first Rush Hour, and I've always remembered his death. He's the one that fell down from like the roof of this big museum into the fountain, and Chris Tucker goes, "Woo, you know he did." So I always remember that guy. And it's funny, that guy was in a couple episodes or at least a season of Lost. The other guy, the janitor guy from the hospital,
the orderly,
that you think's the bad guy. Yeah, the
Zep.
orderly guy.
Yeah.
Zep. He plays a big part in the show Lost, too. Savannah had just watched it, so it's kind of funny to see that Lost connection.
Yeah.
With some of the actors.
Yeah.
You want to talk about first experiences with this?
Well, hold on. Let me get through this preliminary stuff. I still want to touch on the film history for like what this actually launched as far as the careers of James Wan.
Right here.
Oh, okay. I'll do them both at the same time.
Ooh, why is it so small?
So yeah,
ooh, baby, it's a wild world.
Obviously, like we talked about, this was highly successful. It just skyrocketed the careers of both James Wan and Lee Wannell. They kind of worked hand in hand for a few years. Lee wrote a few of the Saw movies before, moving on to other things. He also wrote the first 3 Insidious movies, which were, at least the first Insidious movie was directed by James Wan. I don't know if the rest of them were, if any of the others are not. They also did Dead Silence together, which was a movie that scared the shit out of me when I was a kid.
Oh, with the little puppets?
Yeah, with like the witch that like had the what the fuck are those things called? The actual like name for them. Not puppets. I mean, shit, whatever. The puppets on the strings.
Marionettes.
Marionettes. Thank you. And she would like cut the tongues out of people's mouths or whatever. And actually a fun Easter egg from that movie is that there's a scene where there's like a bunch of puppets on these shelves, and I guess they're puppets that she had made or used over time, and Billy is actually on one of the shelves. Billy being the puppet from Saw.
I remember that scene. That movie scared me as a kid too. But
Yeah,
I remember it thinking that it was a lot like the Goosebumps book.
Oh, yeah, Night of the Living Dummy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so they went on to, James Wan, of course, went on to do The Conjuring and so on. We already talked a little bit about Lee Wennell's career further on. The film, we talked about the budget. We talked about how much it made. It was released, it was released in theaters on October 29th, 2004. And really, this film, it basically started a whole new subgenre in horror, right? Which now I guess we would know it as torture porn.
Yes.
This was a first of its kind thing, and of course this movie is tame compared to some of the later Saw movies where it just goes all in on that sort of stuff.
This movie, I remember obviously the ending when he's sawing off his foot. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's gross. I remember being grossed out. Still grossed out because I know they're just sawing some kind of raw meat they got, and it's just kind of funny. But the gore of this movie is very tame. And to be honest with you, the story is extremely engaging.
Oh yeah.
How many horror movies you can sit there and say the fucking story? I'm not talking about suspense. I'm talking about the whodunit part of the story of a fucking torture horror movie.
Yeah.
It's fucking A tier in this movie. Spoiler alert if you think I'm going to endorse this movie, because I'm not. I'm just kidding. I really like this movie. I just like the fucking story of it, because I remember the ending. He's like, game over when he shuts the door.
Yeah.
But I remember vague instances of the movie, and I'm like, fuck, how's this pieced together? I couldn't remember. And it fucking and the best part about this movie, it wraps everything up, but it leads into the next movie. All the story questions that you would have, you don't have to wait for the next movie. It gets wrapped up by the ending, and then the ending leaves you there's going to be a part 2, and then it just starts a whole nother chapter, but it's still connected. Mm-hmm. So it's very well done.
Oh yeah, definitely. This movie is so good. It's funny now because I've seen this movie so many times in my life, but it's funny thinking back on the first time I ever watched it, and just all the different revelations that come up throughout the movie, right? And before we get into that, let's do our general experience with the movie. Lance, why don't you go first?
So I didn't see this movie in theaters, and I can't tell you when I got the DVDs of them, but I believe I got Saw 1, either 1, 2, and 3, or 1, 3, and 4. I can't quite remember. I'm pretty sure it's 1, 2, and 3. I need to go downstairs in just a second. I gotta check on these fucking birds, make sure they're not dying. So I got it for Christmas one year from my mom. It's right when my mom and dad were getting divorced. So she had picked out these horror movies. And I never gave them a chance. It just looked kind of gory. And then I watched the first one, and I was instantly hooked when I saw Danny Glover was in this movie, because I know he's another actor I feel a loyalty to that I grew up with. So I was like, oh man, it's great. So this is my first experience watching it, and the fucking movie had me hooked. The ending blew my fucking mind. This is before the internet could ruin anything for you, before you became jaded. I'm 16, 17 years old when I'm watching this, maybe even 18, and was just completely enthralled with it. And it's such a fucking amazing feeling when you can do that with a movie. You just go in something blind, know that there's a sequel, but you're not really thinking about that. How's this? I wasn't thinking ahead. I was just watching the movie. I was into it. Fuck, man. This is a fucking awesome movie. When I talk about Friday the 13th, the first movie is probably one of the worst entries. This is this movie's comparable to Halloween, because the movies after Halloween get worse, and I feel it's probably the same for Saw. But this movie is fucking A tier.
Just to interject on that comment, I personally
interject my ass.
Oh, okay. Personally, I think Saw 2 is even better. with the story.
Well,
and
Saw
everything.
2 has a better music that is in the credits. I can tell you that right now because they play Mudvayne Forget to Remember. And
But-
Mudvayne films a music video off the Saw set, which is pretty fucking cool too. So,
But yeah, we'll get to Saw 2 eventually though. But okay. So what about you, Owen?
Well, I mean, I grew up in the 2000s, so obviously I was aware of this franchise growing up. But I mean, really, this is the first time I've actually really sat down and watched any of these. I knew who Jigsaw who played him. So the reveal, I was a little bit like the reveal. I mean, in quotations, when it's supposed to be the orderly or whatever, I was like, that's not him. So
Yeah, I guess if you know it's Tobin Bell, then like when they're trying to make it seem like Zepp is the Jigsaw, it doesn't really land.
Yeah,
well,
I was like, I don't think that's him, unless I don't know, he just gets really old or some shit. Like, I don't know. But yeah, and they just get a completely different actor. So, but yeah, that's
So yeah, this is your first time watching it then.
yeah, that's right.
For me, I specifically remember when we got this movie. Actually, we got it on VHS, and we took a family trip down to Texas to see family members, and we had gone to Walmart or something down there, and we were just kind of looking at what they had for sale there, and the VHS was there on sale, and it was, the cover was just intriguing enough, I guess, for us to buy it. And luckily, our parents were pretty chill with us watching horror movies, like, because I would have been, God, when this came out on VHS, I would have been probably 12 or 13. So actually, it probably would have been the summer of 2005, actually, when we got it. Because I know it was summertime when we went down there. But so yeah, I would have been 13 years old. And man, I remember we went back to our family's house or whatever and watched it, and it was just incredible. I loved it. Watched the shit out of the VHS. Ended up getting the DVD for it when I was in high school, because I actually ended up buying the DVD for Saw 6, and I remember the DVD for Saw 6 came with Saw 1. For whatever reason, it just included it in there too. And then, now I've got like all of them on Blu-ray or whatever. Like, I love this franchise. This franchise is one of my favorite horror movie franchises of all time. And yes, it has plenty of ups and downs. There are some movies that just are not very good. But this one, though, is amazing. But so yeah, I guess I can just do a general overview of the plot. We can kind of talk about different points. It's a pretty, I think it would be pretty easy to cover. Essentially, and I'm not going to go beat for beat. I just want to talk about the general overview of it, right? So, the central point in the plot or whatever, the central thing that's happening is that there is a bathroom somewhere that has two people chained up in it. One of them being Adam, and one being Dr. Gordon. And or Larry, as he's called later on. And in the middle of the room, there's a dead body. It looks like he blew his own head off. And the dead body is there. He's holding a gun in one hand. He has a tape recorder in the other. And Dr. Gordon and Adam are trying to figure out what's going on exactly and how to get out. They know that their feet or their ankles are chained to pipes. And they have to start, again, solving what's going on. They find tapes in their pockets. And I will say Adam wakes up in the bathtub that's full of water. And then I guess when he's thrashing around, he unplugs the drain. And you see something go down the drain right at the beginning of the movie, which leads to another awesome, moment at the end. But yeah, they find tapes. They are able to snag the tape recorder from the body in the middle of the room. Adam listens to his tape. It talks about how he's a voyeur and, living life in the shadows and so on and so forth. And Dr. Gordon's tape straight up tells him that, it tells him, he spends his life giving people the news that they're going to die, and now it's his turn to be the cause of death. And for him to win his game, he has to kill Adam. So the game is afoot, and they're very friendly and trying to cooperate there in the beginning, except Adam.
Afoot.
Adam is trying to hide certain things that he finds, right? So they listen to the tape, which I do think this moment's a little bit funny, because when Dr. Gordon's listening to it back on his tape, and he's like, shh, shh, and he like turns up the volume. It's like, follow your heart. And then, it's like, how did you hear that when you listened to it the first time? That seems kind of weird. But, yeah, so follow your heart. They look for clues. There's a heart drawn in poopy on the back of the toilet. That Adam's next to. And instead of looking in the tank first, his first choice is to just stick his hand in the poop water that's in the bowl.
Some shit, I'm thirsty, dude. Fuck.
Dude, so he does that. It's obviously, you guys know my germophobia.
Yeah.
He when he digs in the top of the toilet and sees the bag, he goes, should have dug in there first.
You notice when he pulls his hand out of the bowl part, and he he flicks his hand, I guess, to get like the excess off of his hand, and he like spits, so it indicates like maybe a little bit of it got in his mouth or something, which is fucking gross. But yeah, so he finds a bag in the tank, because Dr. Gordon's like the only one using any kind of like intelligence in this situation. He's kind of like telling him like, hey, to try this, do this. And he pulls it out, and it's got 2 hacksaws in it, and it's also got some other things in it that he's hiding from Gordon. And they start trying to saw off the chains, and it's not working. Adam breaks his saw. Gordon just stops sawing on his end because he knows it's not going to work. Then Gordon realizes, oh, I think I know who did this. And he starts going into a story of who the Jigsaw Killer is, which is where you get your first kill of the movie, I guess.
You get your Arthur flashback where they go.
Jump on the magic school bus and take a look at this, kids. Look at this fatso trapped in razor wire. I believe that guy's name is Paul, and the guy in the razor wire trap, and Jigsaw tells him that basically says that he is a decently well off, completely sane middle class man, but he tried to commit suicide recently, and he's like the question that he's posed is like, did you do it because you truly just hate your life, or did you do it because you wanted the attention? And so he basically gives him 2 hours to make it through this razor wire maze and escape. And if he doesn't make it, then the door seals and locks. And
then he's like fucking rolling around in the little cage.
No.
Yeah, he's like,
it is crazy because he doesn't even it doesn't even show that he's like taking a chance to try and be careful. Like, he just immediately goes into panic mode.
I like to imagine he just ran up to the fucking like first line of the barbed wire, like just started rubbing his face in it immediately.
But yeah, so some detectives are talking about it later on at the scene of the crime, and they even talk about like how some of the cuts were so deep that they found like stomach acid, traces of stomach acid in the room or whatever. And so that's the first one. They talk about another one. I believe his name is Mark. and it's the guy that has like all the Vaseline or whatever all over his body, and his thing is that he, God, what was it that he's like the most like unmemorable part of this movie, but I can't remember what it is that he did that basically made Jigsaw bring him there. Oh, I remember what it was. He's faking like a terminal illness for some reason, but Jigsaw has evidence that he's been faking it or whatever, and so he punishes him for that. His trap is that there's numbers written all over the walls and the ceiling, and there's glass all over the floor, and he has to use a candle to go around and try and find the combination somewhere on the walls. He ends up setting himself on fire because the stuff all over his body is highly flammable. This is where they indicate that Jigsaw likes to watch the games happen, as there's a peephole in the room, or a glory hole, if you will, and he's going by looking at the numbers and just like sees it coming through the wall.
He's like, for your last test, you have to suck this cock.
So, and then you get a third flashback trap, and the final flashback trap, which is Amanda, and she's the only one.
The Amanda show.
That's a flashback within a flashback, even.
Yeah,
That's like,
think about it.
That's like 4 flashbacks.
Oh yeah, you're right, because they find the light pin at Mark's trap, and they run the prints, and then they like bring Dr. Gordon in to interrogate him and everything, and then like afterward they're like, oh well, we just brought in a survivor of one of Jigsaw's traps, and which is weird. It's like, hey Doc, will you listen to this, because we might need like your professional opinion about what's happening or something. It's like, that part's a little odd. It's like, why would you keep someone that you suspected of doing this here to listen to her talk about what happened to her?
I don't know. That's really funny to me.
Yeah. So she talks. So you're right. It is a flashback within a flashback. She talks about what happened to her. She has the iconic reverse bear trap on her. When Billy the puppet comes onto the screen, and he's like, think of it as a reverse bear trap. Let me show you. And it's like, I think the explanation was enough, but then he shows like the reverse bear trap like blowing apart this like styrofoam head. And she like freaks the fuck out, of course. It's unclear how much time she actually has, because he doesn't tell her, but obviously it has to be several minutes. Because she spends a good 30 seconds freaking the fuck out after the timer starts. But her, the key to the trap is inside of, it says her cellmate, which I'm assuming is like...
Her dead cellmate.
Her dead cellmate. But so like, I guess because she had gone to jail for like, for drug use or whatever, because she's an addict. And turns out that he's not dead. He had been given something so he couldn't feel the pain, but he was alive. And
yeah, I think they said it was an opioid overdose they'd given him.
But he was screaming anyway. What the fuck?
Well, yeah. I mean, wouldn't you if someone's sitting there cutting your insides open in front of you? But yeah, so she cuts him open, finds the key, gets out just in time, and so Dr. Gordon's sitting there like, listen to this. He's like, holy shit, and he goes on his way.
On my way.
On
my way.
I like the face he makes when he wakes up too. I'm just like, I went to the scene to like look over it, and I don't know the face he makes. He looks like he's like a hungover drunk, like waking up from like a bender and being like, what the fuck?
You also see Zepp. You're introduced to Zepp a little bit earlier, whenever Dr. Gordon's like, I guess he's teaching like some, whatever they're called. I don't know what they're called whenever people are training to be doctors or whatever, and they follow like a more experienced doctor around to like learn things. But and there's like the one girl that's giving him the fuck me eyes the whole time, and Zepp comes in and he's like, oh, his name is John. He's a really interesting fellow, and like the patient they're talking about who has a brain tumor, and so that's when you're introduced to Zepp. So go back to the bathroom. I've seen this movie so many times, but there's so many flashbacks. I'm trying to remember like the exact order. Anyway, they're back in the room. They start talking about Dr. Gordon's family or whatever. I guess because the tape says that, like, you know, if he doesn't kill Adam by 6 p.m., then his wife and child will be killed. And he gives Adam his wallet so he can see a picture. And inside there's a picture of them, but it's a Polaroid. And it's them tied up or whatever. And on the back of it, it says, like, sometimes to see the goal, you have to look in the darkness or some shit like that.
It's like easier to see with your eyes closed or some shit is what it says.
Yes, it's something along that. It indicates that they need to turn the lights off because there's that thing in the audio tape earlier on about X marks the spot.
Yeah.
So, Adam finds an opportunity to, like, mention turning the lights off because, you know, Dr. Gordon says something about the dark, and he's like, oh yeah, turn off the lights, and they see the X on the wall. He breaks it open with a hacksaw, and inside is a box that has 2 cigarettes, a lighter, and a note for Dr. Gordon. And it says that you don't need a bullet to kill Adam. It says some other stuff too, but it talks about poisoned blood. And there's the body on the floor and blood everywhere, so, you know. But instead of just killing Adam, they decide, well, we're going to try and trick them. At this point, I guess Adam's already been frustrated and thrown a rock or like a piece of tile at the mirror on the wall, and they see that it's a 2-way mirror and there's a camera behind it. And so they turn off the lights again, and then he whispers to Adam, like, hey, play along. Then when he turns the lights back on, you know, he dips the cigarette in blood, asks Adam if he wants some, and he's like, oh yeah, give me that sweet cancer stick. And throws him the cigarette, but he throws him the one that didn't get dipped in. And which I don't know how you would trick somebody anyway when I was looking at it. Because, like, the one that's dipped has very obviously been dipped in blood. And it's like, what the fuck is this? You know, like,
I'm going to suck on this blood. Oh, I love the blood on the cigarette. That's the best part, dude.
I guess you could be like, well, I'm going to die anyway. I just really need to smoke. So,
what if he what if he cut the filter off? He's like, I don't smoke that pussy filter shit. And then you're like, fuck, damn it.
Just crushes it up and snorts it.
Yeah. He's like, actually, I roll my own tobacco.
But yeah, Adam then proceeds to do the worst dying of poison impression ever, which I think is intentional. I don't think it's like a bad acting on Lee Wannell's part. I think it's like just meant to be like Adam is overselling his death.
Yeah.
And you know, they think that they've done it. They think they've tricked him, and then all of a sudden he gets shocked. And Dr. Gordon's like, what the fuck, man? And Adam's like, he's like, well, I got shocked, you motherfucker. And yeah, so obviously it didn't work. Oh, there was a phone in that box too, right? Because he tries to call out, and he's like, it can only receive calls. And because it makes a weird, like a pew pew noise whenever he tries to call out. Trying to think. There's some backstory in there about Dr. Gordon, his family. He kind of like, he's not really like, he's kind of a little bit neglectful. Like, he's more just absorbed in his work, right? And doesn't really pay them enough attention.
He like almost has an affair, but he doesn't go through with it.
Yeah. He goes to meet her, and when he goes to meet her, he just tells her, like, you know, I can't be doing this or whatever. And but Adam dun dun dun, was paid to take pictures of him and follow him around, take pictures of him, because Detective Tapp, played by Danny Glover, suspects that Dr. Gordon might be the Jigsaw killer. And still, even though they thought that he was cleared or whatever, but so I guess we'll dive it a little bit into the detective story. So there's the Detective Tapp and his partner, and his partner's name is Detective Singh. So Detective Tapp and Detective Singh, they are on the trail of the Jigsaw killer. There's one late night where everyone's about to go home, but Tapp is like obsessively trying to figure out if he can try and figure out where Jigsaw might be. I think he's watching the video that was left for Amanda, right? And he hears like a fire alarm go off in the background of the video, and they do some like, I don't know, I guess they kind of figure out, well, it looks like it's filmed in this type of location, so track down when there was a fire alarm triggered in this part of the city or whatever, and they basically figure out where he's at because of that. They go there, and there's actually somebody in a trap who's covered up in a tarp, and they go to try and set him free, but they hear the elevator, and Jigsaw is coming on your back, and they...
Hey, Cody.
Yeah.
Cody, is he aiming for the dragon?
Yes, definitely. He's got to feed the dragon.
That's a little inside joke between me and Cody. That's really fucking funny. That it survived what? So it was 2011 when I kind of met you, Cody. So, so this joke about 13 years, almost 14 years. That joke keep living.
Yeah. Dragon, feed the dragon.
Rock the dragon. Come on, the dragon.
But yeah, so they cover him up. They try and hide, and they think they've got him. They're like, we've got you, you son of a bitch. But Jigsaw starts the trap that the guy's in.
Hey, Cody, I wish you had the fucking audio from The Dark Knight when they actually catch the Joker about midway through the movie, and Gordon's like, "We got you, you son of a bitch."
So yeah, it starts. They're trying to get him out. Jigsaw makes a run for it, and they end up just shooting the drill, like, because the trap has like drills that are like going toward the side of the guy's head, and they just end up shooting him to get it to stop. And they Detective Singh runs after Jigsaw, and Detective Tapp goes to try. Well, wait a minute. Detective Tapp follows him, and Jigsaw gets the upper hand. He has like a Assassin's Creed hidden blade in his sleeve, and reaches up and cuts his throat. And then Detective Singh shows up, and he goes after Jigsaw, and he ends up walking right into a booby trap, which is basically like a tripwire that has a bunch of shotguns pointing down, and ends up killing him.
Blown as hell. I was curious, like, how in the fuck did he miss Jigsaw? He had a straight shot at the motherfucker. And then Jigsaw just gets up like somebody bit his ass. Like,
he said, "Oh damn, the fucking shotgun hurt. Fuck."
Yeah, it is funny. Off. It is funny because I guess that Jigsaw, like, he got shot at, right? And I guess he didn't get hit.
He like grabs his side or something.
He grabs his ass, man. I just said it.
He pulls his dick out and cradles his nuts.
His dick is so fucking big.
He's like, "Oh, chafed this motherfucker." Oh man.
They heard me coming because I was slapping against my thighs so loud.
They saw the trail of fucking slime I left. So they caught
like a snail.
Never mind. I was gonna make a joke. I can't do it right now.
But my thinking here is that, like, obviously he shoots, he doesn't get hit, like Jigsaw doesn't get hit, but he's like, oh, this is a good opportunity to just go down and like lure him into this trap or whatever. So it's kind of all perfect placement when you think about it. But
it's perfect product placement. You know
Yes, that's why there's Monster Energy drinks everywhere.
Don't they have something with?
It's fucking.
I looked up Reddit to see the differences after I asked you if the one I watched was like the uncut, but somebody said something about Cheerios in this Reddit post.
No, the Cheerios is a reference to a later Saw movie. I know what Reddit post you're talking about because I was looking up what the differences were too. But
okay.
that post they were talking about like just overall the series. The only difference between the rated R version of this movie and the unrated version, there's like an additional 8 seconds, and it's really just like there's a close up shot of the dead body in the bathroom, and there's like the whole scene where like the razor wire scene, there's more, it's extended a little bit where he's actually trying to like fight his way through it and getting like cut and stuff.
Well, in the theatrical cut, it's like really goofy because he just immediately goes into like freaking the fuck out and like rubbing against them. So... Yeah.
In the unrated version, like he's freaking out, but he's like it shows him like actually trying to like climb through it all and stuff. So
okay,
but that's like pretty much it. So yeah, Jigsaw gets away. Detective Singh is dead. Detective Tapp apparently like goes into like an obsession and he loses his job on the force, but he's still again trying to follow Dr. Gordon because he thinks that he's Jigsaw. So he's even like living in the apartment across the street from Dr. Gordon's home, and got cameras on his place and everything. And Dr. Gordon, I guess I'll talk about how they get caught. So this movie also introduces another iconic part of the Saw films with the pig mask, which basically this is how like they always get caught. Just a little bit of future spoilers, Owen, but anytime like people get caught, it's pretty much like someone dressed up in the pig mask or whatever, catching them. And but yeah, so Dr. Gordon gets caught in the parking garage. I can't remember if it's the parking garage when he's like, because he goes and sees that student or whatever, and he's like, oh, I can't do this, and then he goes to leave, right?
Yeah.
Or is it when he's leaving work? Or maybe he's leaving his home to go to work.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's in a parking garage. He's doing something.
Yeah.
And the pig mask gets him, and Adam gets caught in his apartment, which is, the first time you see it, it actually like makes you jump a little bit because he's like using the camera flash to like light up the apartment because the lights don't work.
That's a clever scene. I'll give him that. That was a pretty clever scene with the camera.
Yeah, and then when at the very end of that scene where you see the flash and the pig mask is there and ends up getting him.
He goes, oh, booga booga booga.
Oh, booga booga booga. Down,
stupid Adam. You're gonna have to.
You made me look bad.
Yeah, cut your own leg off.
That picture you took made me look bad. Booga booga booga. So yeah, that's how they get caught. Let's see. Zepp. The movie starts trying to basically make you believe that Zepp is Jigsaw, right? Mm-hmm. Because Zepp, there's a moment where Dr. Gordon's daughter sees a man in her room. They don't really believe her, puts her back to bed or whatever. And after he leaves and gets caught, I guess, Zepp is there in her closet and ties them both up and is keeping them captive. And that's the whole thing about, Dr. Gordon, you have until 6 o'clock or they die. And back in the room, things start deteriorating, right? So they go from, let's try and work together to get out of this bathroom, to becoming highly suspicious of each other.
It's like, did you shit? No, did you? It's like they're fucking suspicious.
You said
like,
turn the lights
off.
off.
I didn't feel that.
I got a shit.
Well, like there's a whole moment of like, how did you know to turn off the lights? I don't believe you or whatever. And he's like, then he finally shows him the picture because he was hiding it from him, I guess, to maybe, I don't know, spare him the stress, or maybe he thought if he saw the picture, then Dr. Gordon would be like, well, fuck this, I'm gonna kill Adam.
Yeah, that's
so
not what
get
I
out of
figured
here.
Was what he was doing.
Yeah. So he ends up getting a phone call, and it's from Zepp. and Zepp lets him talk to his wife or whatever, and basically he's like with a gun to her head telling her like what to say, but she says don't trust Adam. So that really gets things rolling, right? And
Keep rolling.
what? Now I know y'all be loving this twist right here. SAW.
I gotta interject something earlier because I made the joke twice when you said it's been a while. It's been a while.
Uh-huh.
I did that at work, and my coworker, I was about to say partner because we work on the same station.
Sexual partner.
No, I did that, and he goes, "Oh yeah, Nickelback." And I go, "What the fuck?" Like I like Nickelback. I'm not shitting on Nickelback whatsoever. That's fucking Stain, dude. I mean, Stain would probably kill to have Nickelback's numbers. He goes, "Stain?" I'm like, "Yeah, motherfucker. This is the deaf guy, Robert." I'm like, "Yeah," and then I was telling my Filipino friend Rolando, and you know, he's in the Philippines. He just come to America in the last year, but he knows all this music that I like, you know, because he's about 10 years older than me.
Uh-huh.
And I was singing, and he goes, "I don't know that song." And I go, "That song was a fucking huge hit here in like 2001. And he was like, "No, not for us." I'm like, I played it for him. He didn't recognize the song whatsoever. I'm like, how? It's a fucking meme now.
And he's like, but we know Photograph. Dun, dun, dun,
Look
dun.
at this graph.
Look at this
Hey.
photograph.
Look, you got to give Nickelback some credit. They've embraced the memes. When they're in concert now, he'll ask the crowd, he goes, "Well, if you were born after this date, you'll know this song is Look at This Graph." So it's pretty good. Like, you can kind of make fun of yourself and shit.
He goes, "I like your pants round your ankles."
Well, it's like Cody. I don't think Cody really liked the video as much as I did. Where I sent, it was Corey Feldman, Limp Bizkit, it's a couple other people. I can't remember that one dude. And that fucking rapper guy, I can't remember his name, Cody. You know who I'm talking about?
Riff Raff.
Yeah, Riff Raff. He goes, it's like they're sitting in a room talking to each other. He goes, "Can any of you communicate telepathically?" And Fred goes, "I can." And he looks over at Wes and pulls his glasses down. And Wes goes, "There are 4 of them." And he goes, and Riff Raff's like, he's like, "These guys are knucking futts or some stupid shit." I'm like, what in the fuck, man? I love that.
Yeah,
I just thought it was great. I want to do
I
that
think
with somebody. He's like,
I think I didn't like the video that much because it started off where one of them was saying like, "There's just so much creative like talent in this room," and I kind of rolled my eyes like, "Yeah, okay, whatever."
I just
like
I want to do that one of these
if
days,
you
Cody.
removed Limp Bizkit from that room, it'd be a bunch of like just trailer trash nobodies in that room. You know what I mean?
Yeah, look, I'm gonna tell you this, Cody. We're ever at another party together that you throw, I want to do that bit with you. I'm like, look, I can communicate telepathically. I'm gonna take my glasses off and look at you, and you're gonna stare at me for a second. You're gonna be like, "There are 6 of them." I'm like, "See." I swear, man.
But yeah.
Real quick question.
Yeah.
Is there a part of you when you're watching this movie that just, because I remember watching in the third one that Amanda chick.
Don't spoil anything because Owen hasn't seen any of these other movies.
Don't spoil it.
Oh, well, let's just say the game and the rules that are bestowed upon by Jigsaw are not entirely on the up and up, and
Right.
Jigsaw isn't on the no. So the people he's getting to play the game, he has some henchmen. They kind of rigged the game down the road. You find out like later on down the road. You're like, oh shit! So they really had no chance of escaping.
Yeah.
Jigsaw's like,
whatsoever.
"What the fuck? You were supposed to give him a chance."
Well, no. Here's the point. There's a part in this movie. Jigsaw's already dead at this point.
Yeah.
Like at some point, like the movies. I don't know. He's recorded like 70 videos, and people just keep going back to his Google Drive account and uploading them for these new traps. And you're like, "Fuck! Didn't you die like 6 movies ago?" And
Well,
yeah.
you know, just briefly about that concern because I thought that too the first time I ever like watched all these movies as they were coming out. But then the first time I watched them all like back to back, it's like, oh, all this shit happens like in like within like a couple of weeks. as far as like the movies where it's like, oh man, why is there just so much of this stuff planned out so far ahead? But it's like, no, all this stuff is happening like in a very short amount of time. So it's not like something he was like 5 years after my death. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. No, the actor, he's passed away a couple years ago, right?
no, Tobin Bell's alive. He was just in Saw
Oh,
X
he's alive
last year.
still?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I thought he had passed away, man. Who am I thinking of? Some horror icon I thought had passed away a couple years ago, and they made a movie. So, real quick, I don't know if we're going to watch the entire series,
Well, that's the plan.
but how is Spiral connected to all this?
Spiral's more of like a spin-off. It takes place in the same universe, but it's not like directly tied to Jigsaw and all that.
But it is technically like Saw 9, right?
Yeah, that's how they're treating it because I think the original plan was that, you know, all right, so side bar here. After Jigsaw came out, the writers that wrote Jigsaw they were already working on Saw 9, and it was going to be called Saw 9 John Kramer, or the story of John Kramer, or something like that. And
Kramer from Seinfeld.
no.
Yeah. No, that's exactly who it is.
But they
I don't know a lot of you.
they started working on the story for it, but then Chris Rock got in touch with the company that owns Lionsgate or whatever, Twisted Pictures.
Then
I
he
guess.
insulted their wives. And they're like, you know what? You
Keep
are
my
on
wife's
this movie.
name out your fucking mouth. But anyway, Chris Rock gets in touch with them, and he's like, "Hey, I really love the Saw movies. I'd like to make one." And there just so happened to be an opening in his like schedule or whatever where they could like get one made. The plan was to make a trilogy, a Spiral trilogy, that existed within the world of Saw, but it wasn't really directly connected to any of the other movies before. Well, Spiral kind of was a flop, and both critically and commercially. And so they kind of just moved on from it. Now they just treat it like it's Saw 9, but that wasn't really the original intent. And they had even said at one point that like when Spiral was getting ready to release or whatever, they're like, no, this isn't Saw 9. This is its own thing. And we're still working on Saw 9. And, well, you know, now it's like there's Spiral and then Saw X, which came out last year. So, and Saw 11 will come out next year. So, but the story that they had originally started making for Saw 9, the story of John Kramer or whatever, that ended up being adapted into what Saw X is. So,
Here's what's crazy. Saw X already came out, yeah. James Wan is still connected.
he's like
to
the
all of these
executive
Saw
producer
movies.
or whatever.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
cool that, you know, he's still, like, he's at least a sounding board for...
So is Lee Wennell, by the way. They're both executive producers for this.
That's pretty fucking cool. I ain't gonna lie. Like, to have somebody... I mean, I know he's blown up as a big director, like, then Insidious, and then The Conjuring, which really blew up, and then Aquaman, which blew up.
Mm-hmm.
And, again, he's done the Mortal Kombat movies that are coming out. That's pretty fucking cool to stay connected
Yeah.
to the franchise. Like, you don't see that a lot. Like, you know, Halloween, John Carpenter didn't do that. Thankfully, in Friday the 13th, Sean Cunningham didn't do that. But Wes Craven left. He was part of, like, 3 Nightmare movies, 1, 3, and then A New Nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty cool to have somebody, like, at least be a voice on it. Like, you know, like, I remember in the Dark Knight movies, with Christopher Nolan, with him and his brother and David Goyer, they wrote the 3 Dark Knight, the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah.
Well, then Goyer and I think Nolan's brother wrote Man of Steel with Zack Snyder. And what's his name? Christopher Nolan was he handpicked Zack Snyder to take over the DCEU.
Yeah.
And he was executive producer on, like, Justice League. He was executive producer on Batman vs. Superman and producer on Man of Steel. And, you know, I thought that was pretty cool that he stayed along because his partnership with Warner Brothers, but then that dissolved. But I think it's pretty cool that James Wan has stayed with all these movies, at least in some kind of consulting You know what I'm saying? Like he lets.
Yeah.
I figure he lets the filmmaker do what they want to do, but he's still there. It's not like, well, I'm just going to put my name on it and not be there. You know?
Right. Yeah. So yeah, back to the bathroom scene or plot.
You mean bathroom movie?
Yeah. So they start to become very suspicious of each other. Things start going downhill fast. So like he finally figures out who Adam is. Adam is a photographer who's been basically following Gordon around for a while, and he was hired by some guy with a scar across his neck. And it turns out, that's Detective Tapp. The thing that he was hiding in the trash bag that was also in there with the hacksaws was a bunch of photographs that he took of Gordon.
Look at this photograph.
Look at this photograph. Every time
I know
do
that
it past
Stain
some
song.
gas.
Cody, I know that Stain song.
Yeah. Aaron Lewis and the Bougie Boys.
Or like Aaron Kroger and Chad Lewis. Yeah. So real quick, Cody.
Yeah.
Are they making any more Saw movies after Saw X?
Yeah, the Saw 11's already announced. It was originally supposed to come out this year, and then they pushed it to next year. It's like comes out next September.
Okay. I wonder if they're ever going to end the franchise.
Well, Saw X made a shit ton of money, so that's what kind of kick-started it. They were doing it. They were wanting to put Saw X out in time for the 20th anniversary. That was the whole thing. So they actually put it out a year early for that, but it did so well, like I said, that they immediately greenlit Saw 11. And Saw X takes place in between the first two films. And I don't know what Saw 11's where it's supposed to fall on the timeline, but yeah, that's pretty cool. It is interesting seeing Tobin Bell in Saw X though, because it's like, man, like he looks very similar to how he does in like the other movies, even though it's like 20 years later. But he's like 82 years old, and it makes you think, it's like, man, he just always looked old. So
well, that's the thing is he does he still have hair, or does he get his head shaved?
He still has hair.
Okay, so I mean that's probably the thing too. I was gonna say, like, his head's shaved in this movie, obviously as a cancer patient. But it's like, when you have a shaved head, for most people that go bald, when you shave your head, like in 20 years, you're gonna look virtually the same, other than gray in your beard. That's the thing about like being when you're bald, at least. Because I was thinking, I didn't know if he still had hair. I know there's future movies where he had hair.
Yeah,
but
and his hair's like white in the future movies too. So, but I mean, think about it. In this movie, he's 62. So,
which is pretty fucking crazy. He looks pretty good for 62 years old. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah.
Like, I hope I look. I mean, if he looks like this 20 years in the future, at 82 now, looks similar to that. Hopefully, I look that fucking good and live that long at 82. That's fucking amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell by the way he moves around and stuff. He's definitely like a lot older, but yeah, he looks similar. And granted, they could have done makeup on him to like make him look a little bit younger, but
or make him look like a woman.
American woman. But yeah, so let's wrap the plot up real quick.
Speaking of American Woman, did you see Zoe Kravitz broke up with Gambit? Catwoman and Gambit are no longer.
No, I didn't even know they were a thing.
Yeah, Zoe Kravitz and Channing Tatum were like dating. He just signed his divorce papers like within the last year. So I was like, damn, they've been together for a couple of years. I'm like, fuck, man, you got that young pussy dad, don't you, huh, man?
No. He said, "Whoo, I'm about to make a name for myself here." Anyway, so this is when like you kind of get like multiple revelations happening from this point on, right? The revelation that Adam was following Gordon the whole time, and he accuses Gordon of having an affair, which he didn't do, and it very like clearly upsets him that he's being accused of it, even though it never happened. There's the time runs out at one point. It cuts back to Gordon's home where Zepp is there, and he goes in. Gordon's wife has already gotten free from her restraints, and but she's pretending like she's still tied up, and he calls Gordon. He's like, Dr. Gordon's time is up, and he wants her to tell him that, and then they get into a struggle. She gets the gun away from him, and then his daughter stupidly cries out and distracts her, so they start fighting over the gun. Detective Tapp, who is across the street, like I said earlier, hears the gunshots going off, and goes, oh, that's right, I forgot. When Adam had the pictures or whatever, after like revealing that, you know, he was taking photos of Gordon in his place, there's a picture where Zepp is like looking out the window. So he apparently had been hiding in his house for a while. So
You
he
think he
knew
would notice that the toilet paper would be a lot less and there was food missing. But
he was just pooping in a toy box in the daughter's closet. It's like, honey, I don't know what that is in here, but you need to clean your room.
I was having. Sorry. So there's like a weird. Where is the detective in relation to the crime? So he's supposed to be across the street. I guess where is the bathroom scene in relation to all the other locations? Is it just like
It's in the sewer. It's in the sewer somewhere. Or there's like a maintenance tunnel. There's like maintenance tunnels or something under the city.
Huh. Okay.
I guess it would make sense for the bathroom to be in the sewer. The bathroom is there's like maintenance tunnels under the city, and that's where the bathroom
Sewer
is.
workers gotta piss too.
Well,
But, you know,
they show a scene where, you know, Danny Glover's chasing that guy in car, and it makes it think that they're driving a long distance. Cause it's like all like very 2000s quick montage, and just like really,
Yeah.
yeah.
Where there clearly wasn't even really a chase being done. It was just like a bunch of like camera work to make you think it's actually happening. Because they probably didn't have the budget for it.
Yeah. Can't afford this car.
This is not my beautiful car.
We can only afford Danny Glover for 10 days on set. We gotta make sure we get all this.
Yeah, Danny Glover was probably a large part of the budget. It's like, well, Danny Glover's going to take $500,000.
And then he gets shot, and he goes, "Damn, I was only 10 weeks away from retirement."
So yeah, during the struggle at the home in the shootout, Gordon, of course, is still on the phone, and he hears all the gunshots, and he just snaps, and he picks up the hacksaw and just starts sawing away at that foot, and Adam's freaking out. He's like, no.
I love you, man. Come on.
Look, I will say this. I know it's kind of goofy.
They have a tender moment.
That was some really good acting by Adam.
Yeah, I mean, it's it is a little goofy, but it's still like a great scene and everything.
But think what he's doing though. Like you see blood squirting up when he's cutting the foot. You do not see anything. You hear meat getting cut into for the sound effect. But that scene is really Lee. In y'all's
version, do you not see him cutting into the leg?
Not really. You see like half a second, and he kind of sort of does, but then it cuts away.
Okay, yeah. That's sort of similar to the unrated one then. Like it shows it like start going into the leg or whatever, but then it like mostly just shows his face and like Adam freaking out.
The majority of that scene, other than you see the blood squirting up on the doctor as he's doing it, is Adam vocalizing. He's narrating that for everybody. Like, oh no, he's like puking and shit like that.
He's going for the tendon.
So, and that is not that is not easy to do for like a good 15 seconds when you're the only person that's narrating in a scene. I think he did a really good job for somebody who wasn't an experienced actor.
Then he goes, wrong foot.
And passes out. Hits his head on the tub and dies.
Hey, do you know the scene where Zeb comes in and like after Adam got shot and he's like on the floor and like Zeb's kind of looking around? I thought it'd be really funny if he went in there. He's like, "What the hell? You weren't supposed to kill him. What the fuck?"
Yeah. So that's a good. We're about to be at that moment anyway. But yeah. So Gordon, he cuts his foot off. He crawls over and gets the gun. It loads a bullet into it and shoots Adam, but he kind of like hits him in the shoulder. And He's like, I've done it. I've done it.
Show them to me.
And I will say, obviously, very low budget. I love this movie. The makeup that they have on Gordon here is awful. It's really bad.
Where he's got supposed to look like a corpse.
He's
or
like
shit.
pale. Yeah, he's like super pale because he lost so much blood or whatever. But it just
Looks
looks.
like an emo.
Before
Like a goth girl.
before that though,
Mm.
but before that scene where before he cuts into it, he still looks pretty pale and he's got like pink around his eyes. It reminds me of all those people in Mad Max 3 when they're farming around the pig shit. They all got like pink eye.
Yeah.
So that's what that was like. That reminded me of when I was watching this. Like, damn, this looks like fucking Mad Max 3, and they all got fucking pink around their eyes and shit.
So yeah, Zepp walks in, and he's like, "I'll kill you, you son of a bitch!" And he like picks up the gun. Obviously, there's no bullets in it because he only had one. He walks over to check on Adam. Doesn't he trigger the shock thing in Adam's No.
No, Adam. That was before Adam. Not Adam. Adam gets shocked when they have the reveal and he's about to shoot Jigsaw.
He triggers Gordon's shock in the track because I guess he tried to kill him or some shit like that. I don't know.
But that was
Gordon,
before, though. Like, that was before the Zep showed up, though.
But if Jigsaw is controlling, so is Jigsaw the one who's controlling the shocks? Why didn't he just make sure that Gordon was dead then?
And I think Zep is the one controlling the first shock and the second shock, and then he has a control mechanism when he wakes up because they reveal how he gets there either in the second movie or the third movie. They show this whole fucking thing.
Does Jigsaw not care about the fucking rules? What the hell? Gordon's supposed to die.
No.
Yeah, I don't. Well, I know they shot Gordon, but Gordon's not pretending to be dead, right? Like he's
legit. No.
Yeah.
He when he gets shocked, he's like foaming at the mouth. He's like shit like that.
Right. But what I'm saying is like it doesn't make any sense why I can't don't remember the point of him even being shocked because it's like he's like crying right because he thinks his family's dead. It's right before he starts cutting his foot off.
I figured he was being shocked because he's supposed the time is out. Like he has to fucking die now or something. I don't fucking.
Oh no, I don't know. I'm not sure. I know Adams. I just couldn't remember. Here's why I'm saying this. As many times as I've seen this movie, my Blu-ray disc is like messed up to where when Zep walks in and he goes over to Adam, the disc like freezes for a few seconds, and then it doesn't like kick back in until like Adam's already like bashed his head in with the top of the toilet thing.
That's in my version too, Cody.
What, the freezing?
Yeah, that's in every version.
No, it's not.
I just thought I'd gaslight you for a second. I wanted to see if you fall for it.
Oh, I know it's not because I've seen this movie before on other formats.
It's always been
yeah,
that way.
so my thing like freezes like right before Adam like gets up, like surprises him and like beats his brains in. But and then it cuts back in when Gordon's crawled over there. He's like, "I'll go back for you.
I'll go
back for you." He's like,
And,
I'm going to get
They've
help.
been in this room together for what, 8 hours maybe?
Yeah, it's about 8 hours.
At the end when he goes, he's like, "You're gonna come back, right?" He goes, "I wouldn't lie to you." I'm like, "What? You just known him for 5 fucking hours?"
Yeah, and it's roughly 8 hours because when they look at the clock, when they notice the clock early on, it's like 10:30 or something, and they have until
so it'll be 7.5
6.
hours.
Dude, I would have been like,
Well,
do I get a lunch break? What the fuck?
You got to think they've been in there a little bit before they even notice the clock. So,
I'd have been too angry to even deal with that shit.
Yeah, Dr. Gordon then crawls away.
He's like,
and
fuck, just DoorDash us some Burger King for fuck's sake.
He's like, "I'll be back for you. I'm gonna go get some help." And it's like Adam's got to be thinking that moment like, "I'm dead. I'm not making it out of here. He's bleeding out, and he's gonna try and crawl his way to freedom."
Hey, real quick, Owen, can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Can you take your headphones out? I don't want you to hear this part. I need to ask Cody a question about a future movie that I don't want to wait for.
Okay.
All right, count to 30.
Count to what?
And then put your headphones back on. Count to 30. Okay. Hey, Cody.
Yeah.
Do they ever reveal what happens to the doctor?
Yeah, they do.
Okay, so he ends up dying. He doesn't make it back to his family, right?
It's funny because you've seen the movie where they reveal it because we went to the theaters and saw it together.
Yeah, I couldn't remember though.
Yeah, they talk about all that stuff in that movie in Saw, well, it's Saw 7, but Saw 3D or whatever the fuck it's actually called.
Okay, so they have him come back for that scene, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, he didn't make it. I didn't
All right, you
know
guys
for
done
sure.
yet?
All right, Owen.
All right.
Yeah,
we're done.
Perfect.
All right, so he crawls out of the room, and then one of the biggest reveals.
Crawling in my skin.
Adam searches Zepp's body and finds a tape recorder, and then you get the fucking music, the dun 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 dun. Hello, Zepp.
And then the body on the ground farts really loud. He's like, God, I've been holding that in. Fuck.
You find out that Zepp was also part of a game, and basically he had been poisoned, and he had to basically make sure this game was running smoothly, and if he didn't do what he was asked, then he would never get the antidote and would die.
Yeah. That's kind of fucked up. That Zepp seemed like he was like friendly with Jigsaw, and it's like,
Yeah,
why'd you put him in the fucking game? It's kind of fucked up.
He didn't value life, dude.
I will say this movie doesn't do as good of a job as like the rest of the movies do for like giving a very specific reason. With all of them, right? With like multiple people that are in the different traps in this movie, there's some that's like, well, do they really deserve to be in this situation?
Jigsaw's like, you didn't wipe my ass all the way when you
when you took care of me.
Yeah.
But like I will say, like in the rest of the movies though, like they at least give like valid reasons like why Jigsaw would want these people in the traps and stuff, and like
I feel like
every
it's
single
fine
person
for him to like just not. I mean, because he's supposed to be a psycho killer, but I don't know.
Well, that's the thing is like later on it's like, oh, like these movies I think do a good job of making you like kind of buy in a little bit to like what John is like his intentions are with doing all of this.
Sexually.
Yeah. And but like, you know, he has like a moral, some kind of like moral code anyway for and like reasons for doing it. But in the first one, it's very much like it's too vague, I think, with a lot of them as to why they're even there. And but you'll see whenever we go into the future movies, like what I mean more specifically.
He's like, they get him in the room. He's like, we got ulterior motives.
But yeah, so this leads to probably one of the greatest reveals or twists in movie history, period. Where
that's a quote from Martin Scorsese, too, everybody.
Yeah, I'm sure. But you see the body in the room sit up, and it's fucking Jigsaw has been in the room the entire time. And man, like I love it. The fucking music is hitting. And he stands up and he looks over and he's like, the key to the tub or the key to the chain is in the tub or whatever. And Adam like freaks out because he realizes like the key's gone down the drain, that's the first thing you fucking see in the movie is the key going down the drain. And
well, it's kind of fucked up though. So that's what I'm kind of saying. Like Adam really never had a chance.
Yeah, Jigsaw, you really fucked him in the ass.
Yeah.
Well,
you're right.
Find out in the third movie that it wasn't necessarily Jigsaw that set. I mean, he planned this trap, but he didn't set the trap because he was unconscious in the room. You find out
he's just the average like manager. He's just like, fuck it, let my orderlies do this shit.
Now, think of it like this, Owen. When we were working together, how I tell you, hey man, just go run my truck and we'll sit in the back.
Yeah, that's what Jigsaw's doing. And then I didn't do anything, or I did it half-assed.
So when we find out in the third movie, Owen, because there's a reveal in the third movie about how all this is happening. They show how the traps were set in the first two movies and the third one, and in this specific trap, he had it planned, but he had somebody carry out the plan, and that person wasn't on the level. So they really like one of them, like Adam, legit never really had a chance to get out.
It'd be funny if Adam was
way
like,
it was set
"Hey,
up for him.
it went down the drain when I woke up. Hey, come back!" And he's like, "Oh, really? Oh, let me get that for you."
Well, you know, like Adam realizing that the key is gone, his next reaction is just to pick up Zepp's gun and try and shoot Jigsaw. Which that's when you find out that Jigsaw's had the remote or the trigger or whatever for the shock and the chains the whole time, and you get the fucking iconic moment. He goes to the door, turns the light off, and game over, and shuts the door.
Shout out to Jigsaw for holding his breath for like 12 fucking hours.
No, they explained that later too. Like,
yeah, it's in the third movie.
Okay.
They explain all that.
Yeah, when they go through, like, that's a little bit of a spoiler, but I guess you're aware of this trap. But when they go through, like, when they're setting this trap up, they explain like why he's able to like play dead for that entire time.
He held his breath really long.
Hello, Dr. Gordon.
When I was in middle school, I was always the kid who could hold his breath the longest.
What's real funny, one time, and Owen will know the layout of this. The dairy cooler, Owen, at the store.
Yeah.
And I went in there one time, and one of my coworkers at the time, she was hooking up with the beer vendor. And
Like
they were both
hooking
in the
up?
dairy cooler.
They were fucking.
Well, I mean, like, not hooking up at the store, but they would hook up after work and shit like that.
Oh.
Wait, who was
But
it?
he was in the dairy
was I
cooler,
around?
and they were.
Okay,
No, this is before you were born.
B.O. This is B.O. before Owen.
This is B.O. before Owen. So, this dairy cooler, the way it's shaped like an L. Like, you open the door, and one side of the cooler is where the milk, eggs and meat are on one section, and then to the left is where the milk and all the drinks and beer are. But it's literally shaped in like a reverse L. So you look to your right, that's the longest part of the cooler. You look straight ahead, there's that, and you see the doors. So they were in there, and the beer vendor was talking beer. She was going in and talking to him, and I'd known, like, I'd seen the beer vendor for a couple of years at that point, and I'd worked for her for a couple of years. So I was, joking around with them all the time. So I walked over there and I saw them in the cooler, and the dairy cooler door was open, and I go, I may be the only one that finds this funny. I goes, hey guys, y'all remember at the end of Saw when he wakes up and he says game over and slams the door, and they're just kind of looking at me. I go, game over, and I just shut the dairy cooler door. And at one time you used to lock them from the outside, so you could stick like a pin thing through the door handle. And something changed. I can't remember what the fuck they did to it, but you used to put something so someone would not be able to get out. Well, it probably was, yeah, but you could do that. And we used to have removable milk racks. So you'd sit there and lock it, and then the person would move up the milk rack and just come crawling out in the front. in front of you.
Like everybody sees them just crawling out the front.
I know, that's the best. Well, see, you could get away with shit like that because we weren't a busy store at the time. Because, I mean, you never seen the Dollar General Market commercial. And it was just the kind of silly shit you do. And one time, Ben, my boss, this is before he was the boss, but he was the co-manager. And I was walking by the dairy store, and he had moved the milk rack and walked through the fucking door. He goes, hey, I want you to stock milk. He grabbed me. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. And, you would just do stupid shit like that at the store. Like, keep it entertaining. Like, the worst part about that place was actually working. And I just couldn't do it anymore. But, yeah, we used to, like, so I would just remember I'd be like, I sounded stupid on purpose when I was talking. So, hey, you guys remember and saw when he said game over and shut the door? Game over. And I just let the door run. And I did it to Sarah one time, who was the perishable manager. And I remember, I guess I did it like a couple years after that. I go, Sarah, you remember when that movie Saw? And she goes, no, you're not doing that again. I'm like, oh, okay.
But yeah.
Game over.
So Owen, I'm really curious, since this is your first time seeing this.
Yeah.
When the big reveal happens, what did you think of that?
I don't know. I mean,
it's like I gotta piss. That was his thought.
I don't know. I kind of thought it was dumb, honestly. I mean, I don't know. It wasn't surprising or anything to me. I was just like, oh, he fucking was sitting there for like 12 hours. But I mean,
8 hours.
however the fuck
Damn
long
it.
it was, I don't know. I mean, I guess it gets explained later, but I don't have that frame of reference, so.
Right.
That
I
is
mean, even
funny,
without
but
that
I know
frame of
Cody was
reference-
expecting, like, this is your first time seeing it. What did you think? And he's just like, kind of fucking stupid. And it's like, okay.
Even without the frame of reference that you get from the later film, like, even like at the time, it was like, man, this is like crazy, because you just don't suspect that the fucking dead body in the middle of the room is
I mean,
an actual living person.
I guess, there was that element, but I knew something was fishy, like I already said. I mean, I knew that, like, I was like, that's not Jigsaw, this fucking weird guy. Like,
yeah, right, yeah, because I guess that is a good point, because you already knew that Zepp wasn't.
Yeah, so I mean,
Jigsaw,
it didn't really
so
hit
it had
me
to be somebody
very hard.
else.
That I was like, oh
Yeah.
shit.
I mean, if you go into this franchise blind, and like I said, if you're into scary movies or horror movies, and you watch this movie, you go into it blind with like no knowledge of it, I think it would blow your mind. But if you were vaguely familiar with the franchise, you know it's a puppeteer puppet that's going around, and you see the old guy at least once, and you're like, okay, so it's not a huge reveal when you know that that's not the bad guy. Watching it for the first time, like I said, me not knowing it, and I had watched the movie probably 3 years after it first came out, fucking blew my mind. Like, holy fuck, really? What the fuck, dude? It was amazing. Like, It was one of those, like, fucking awesome mind fucks, and not in the Joker 2, let's do a musical and fuck the comic book fans type of way, but in that, like, let's get you ready for part 2, you know?
Joker baby.
Yeah. I'm the Joker,
I'm
baby.
the Joker, baby. To be honest with you, if they had just remade that clip into a 2-hour movie, they probably would have made more money.
Yeah. Dances with sharks.
But yeah, so that's Saw, and
We saw that
like I
shit,
said,
dude.
like I said, technically my next movie will be the new Nosferatu, but after that we'll jump back into Saw and go into Saw 2, because like I personally think that as great as the first one is, I think that the second one is like even better.
What about? I thought we were doing the original Nosferatu too.
Yeah. So this is technically gonna drop in the spot of the original that the original Nosferatu was. Whenever you asked me yesterday if I would swap, I was like, well, I want to see the original Nosferatu before seeing the new one, but I didn't feel like watching it like today for this episode or whatever. So I guess that one's just gonna be cut out.
I thought you were talking about swapping spit, and I was like, I'm still waiting.
Swapping something.
Swapping cum. Oh.
But yeah, that's it. I guess we'll get into final thoughts and whether or not you recommend the movie. Let's start with Owen.
Yay. I don't know. I guess I'm going to differ a little bit. I mean, it's kind of meh to me. There's things that I like about it. I like the high concept, like two guys trapped in the room kind of thing. And I think
Two guys, one
two
room.
guys, one cup, fucking each other.
Oh, man.
And like, I think it's a pretty engaging thriller. Like, you know, but there's like, there's certain things that I kind of find like that just didn't really work for me, I guess. Like the weird, I mean, it's not even weird. It's not even that big of a deal, but I just didn't like the detective side plot stuff. I just kind of thought it was like, okay, yeah, I know that they're not going to catch him. Or like when and I mean, I know this is like lame to bitch about, but I really couldn't help it. And it's where, because I think every movie ever fucking does this, and it's a movie, right? And it's where the lady, Dr. Gordon's wife, you know, she does the struggle. She has the gun, right? And the first thing that she doesn't do is shoot the motherfucker. And I know, like, I know that's like everybody is, you know, like so many movies do that shit, and it's like such a cop out thing to bitch about. But I don't know, it just bothered me in this. So yeah, I mean, there's things I liked about it, but it was kind of meh. I'm neutral, I guess.
Yeah, that sort of plot element, that's the kind of thing that annoys me in a lot of horror movies, or where like people are running away from somebody that's like obviously trying to kill them, and they'll like for example, like they'll catch him off guard, right, and they'll hit the killer in like the head with something, and then they'll just run, and it's like you've got him on the ground, just like bash the motherfucker's head in,
and I mean
to make sure
they have the they have the dead guy do it, I guess. So, or the guy who pretends to be dead, and then he gets up and then bashes him in the head, Adam. But
yeah, Adam, he actually kills him. It's like So, would you recommend the movie?
I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't tell somebody like not to watch it, but I wouldn't be. I don't know. I probably won't be going around singing its praise or anything.
Okay. And all right. What about Lance? Lance gonna have a. I know you're gonna have a different opinion than Owen.
Yeah, I feel like this is like the one rare episode where I'm like the one person who's like kind of the sandbagger here.
It is a little bit surprising, but I mean, granted, even me, like I said, this is like one of my favorite horror franchises of all time. Yeah. And I've seen this movie, I can't tell you how many times, but I know there's flaws with this movie for sure. Yeah. And
I don't know. I always feel bad being the guy who's like kind of the asshole who's like,
your opinion is your opinion.
Yeah.
But you're
that's
off
what
the
makes
podcast.
it entertaining.
No, I'm kidding.
I mean, it would be extremely boring if we were all three of us jerking each other off for all of our movies all the time.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, it would be pretty fucking boring. But I ain't gonna lie to you.
What'd you say, Cody?
Cody said,
"I'm a cool guy, actually."
I thought it was funny. Cody goes, "I can't tell you how many times I watched this movie," and I was about to be like, "Yeah, because he's got a short-term memory loss and he doesn't remember every time he watches." Real quick, I had a joke. Did anyone sit there and think when Danny Glover was on screen did you in your mind go, "I'm too old for this shit"?
No, but that's because I don't really have a reference for Lethal Weapon.
But you've seen all four of them, though.
I haven't seen all four of them.
Which one? We've only done the first one?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's just the first one.
No, dude, I think we did like 2 and 3. I swear to God we did all four of them.
No, I don't even know if we've done the first one for this podcast, to be honest with you.
Yes, we have. We've done Lethal Weapon. We've done Lethal Weapon 2, because I remember you were like, it was more emotional and shit like that.
Hold on. I'm looking through
I
the
swear
list
we've done all 4 Lethal
I don't.
Weapons.
You also got to remember, I edit everything, and I've listened to pretty much all of our episodes at least 2 or 3 times, basically. I'm scrolling through, still not seeing any Lethal Weapon.
Dude, I'm telling you.
There's the first one. We did the first one, and that's it.
Keep on going.
I'm going down.
I think we just did one.
Yeah.
Okay.
We did the first
nice
one in December of 2022.
Okay, so it's nice to know. I know we can, because I know I watched all 4 of them with Savannah. So it's nice to know that's another franchise to go back to and finish up those movies, because they just get better for me. So I would definitely recommend this movie. I think it's great. I do not know where we go from here. I've seen the third one at least once, maybe twice. I know I thought I saw Saw 6, but I guess it was Saw 3D. Because that was the time it was me, Cody, and Alex that went to the mall theater.
Yeah, and both of you were sitting there squirming in your seats.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. And that's the one that had Chester Bennington in it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's when I was still dating the movie theater manager at the time. So he was a nice guy. No, I'm just kidding. Yes, I've seen Saw 3, and I've seen that one. And I remember that specifically because Alex had those 3D glasses on, and he looked like Sid the Sloth to me because those glasses looked like those big eyeballs. I don't know if Cody remembers me laughing about that. That's why I was like, hey, I could be Diego, and one of y'all I could be the Mammoth or whatever, you know. Anyway. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this movie. Go into it blind. Obviously you listen to this episode, but if there's anybody you know in your family that's never seen this and doesn't have any reference other than seeing the trailers for these movies, show it to them at some point, because it definitely will blow somebody's mind. If they're interested in watching a horror movie for the first time, this is a very good one. And like I said, the whodunit part probably wears off the more you watch it, so it's not as special unless you're a dedicated fan like Cody. But this is at the very least, in my opinion, this is a very good horror movie. I think it's great, and I really enjoy it. And like I said, the horror is like the second best part of the movie. It's like the story, and you don't get that in a lot of horror movies with the story. Sometimes they get real jangled and they get lost in translation. The story in this movie is like fucking A tier, like I said at the beginning of this. So yeah, I definitely recommend it.
And I obviously recommend it. Like I said, it's one of my favorite franchises. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. So I can't wait till we get to Saw 2. 'Cause I feel like
Me neither, because of Mudvayne.
I do feel like some of the issues that you have, Owen,
Yeah.
with like some of the criticism and everything, especially going into Saw 2, because like obviously the whole, like you said, the twist was kind of dulled because of, you obviously that Zepp's not Jigsaw through the whole thing, and you already know who it is, and they're not trying to hide that shit anymore in future movies. So like the twist and stuff that happened in the second one are just so much. I think they're just so fucking well done in that movie. But we'll get to that in quite a few weeks from now.
Okay.
But yeah, I definitely recommend this to everybody. Technically, we're recording these out of order, so by now, everyone will have already seen that we have done Lance's episode, which is Friday 13th Part 5, and Owen's pick, whatever that is. I don't know if you already have an idea of what you're going to do, Owen.
Yeah, I'll figure it out.
Okay, yeah, but basically this is coming out after those two episodes, and then so technically in the order after this, our next episode will be the new Nosferatu, because this will go live like the week before we go see the new Nosferatu movie. And like I said, we're going to go see it, record it, and get it put up as quick as possible. That way it's as close to release as we can possibly get it. So yeah, and then I guess after that it'd be Lance's episode, which would be Friday the 13th. Or no, you said you're going to do Logan after Part 5, right?
So Logan will be after Part 5 just to give us a little break, because I definitely want a palate cleanser for you guys before we hit 6. 6 to me is my favorite. That or Part 4. But 6 is way different than the rest of the movies. So I want to make sure there's a palate cleanser and you guys don't have any. Because you guys have not been fond of the Friday movies. So I don't want you guys to have that kind of taste in your mouth still right before we go into Part 6, thinking it's going to be the same fucking thing. And it's way fucking different. So
Gotcha. Okay. And so I guess that's it for this episode. We'll look forward to what we got in the future. We're still uploading every week on YouTube. It's one new episode and then one of our older episodes that we've had on podcast services for a while, just to try and slowly get all of those up on YouTube as well. We've in far less episodes on YouTube, we have more views than we do listens over the last several years on podcast services now.
Which is pretty sweet. Like,
yeah,
we should have done the YouTube long ago.
Yeah,
but,
should have.
You live and learn. But I will say this, like, where we're at, you haven't even uploaded Part 4 in real time. Friday 13th, Part 4.
Right. Yeah, that'll go up. That'll actually go up in a couple of days. But yeah.
Yeah. So have you already got it edited up? Or are you still working on it?
I'm like halfway through. So like Monday morning, I'll finish it up and then I'll get it put up sometime.
Okay.
by midday.
I might get a sound clip for you so you can put it at the beginning if you don't mind.
Okay. Yeah. As long as it's there, just let me know when you put it on there so I don't forget.
Okay. I got you. So like in real time, so like the last episodes I'm looking at are Shrek 1 and 2, and then our Spawn episode. Well, Spawn quickly jumped up to 10 listens, but it stayed there. And Shrek, for some reason, stayed at 5 listens. And I feel like my tweets that I had for those for promoting on Spotify were pretty A+. I'm pretty sure I go, it's been a while, and I go, that's at Stain talking about us at Filmoscopy Podcast. And yeah. I was like, man, that was pretty good. And
Yeah,
all
and
that
by
shit, so-
by comparison, you know, on YouTube, the Shrek and Shrek 2 episode has 69 views, and Spawn has 36. But what's funny is right after Spawn, the Psycho 2 review went up, and it has 172 views. So
That warms my heart because Psycho 2 means a lot to me, obviously. So
yeah, and we have. I mean,
yeah.
we have several. What's funny is like on podcast services, we only have like maybe 4 or 5 episodes that have crossed 100. We have more than that already on YouTube that have gotten over 100. Some like obviously we even have one that's got over 1,000. So
Which one's that?
the Mad Max Fury Road, it's got like 1,300 views.
It's pretty dope, I ain't gonna lie. I'm pretty excited about that. And we got more subscribers on YouTube than we do on Spotify.
Yeah,
So-
it's crazy, but yeah,
Let me
just
so
we
if you guys like real quick on social media, we're at Filmoscopy Pod. On YouTube, we're at Filmoscopy Pod. If you just type in at Filmoscopy Podcast in Google, your search engine, we will pop up. We will be the first couple things that show up. We will be probably the only things that show up underneath that name. And we're on Facebook. You can like us there whenever we post a new episode. I will post a link there. We're on X/Twitter. We're on YouTube, which is our main source of listens right now, and probably the most accessible you can get to. Just type in at Filmoscopy Podcast. We will show up and subscribe, like the episode, leave a comment if you don't like it, leave a comment if you do. We want some engagement.
Yeah, and I mean,
Just
if
give us
you,
something.
if you do like our episodes, then like share them, you know, post them on social media, or just share them with some of your friends that you think might be interested in it. You know, it'll help us.
Hey, everyone,
grow.
look, I can't even get my own family to listen to this, so don't even feel embarrassed if someone tells you no. My mom's telling me no, so it's fine.
She's like, "That's okay, dear."
It's okay. I'll send her ones I'm thinking like she might halfway be interested in this episode. I don't know if she ever listens to it, and I know my sister doesn't. So I literally know 2 people in my inner circle that listen to the episode, and that's Alex of I'll Take 3. Go ahead, Owen. Exactly.
Dicks.
And Sarah. So.
Yeah.
But everyone subscribe to us. You know, just fucking like the episode if you can. Hell, I like the episode off my own account. I know that's cheap. I don't care. So
Yeah, Lance tries to get his mom to listen to it. He's like, "Hey, mom, check this out." She's like, "No, that's okay, Frank."
yeah, that's okay, Frank. All right, is anyone else having sex with this man's wife? That's okay, Frank. R.I.P. Leslie Nielsen and George Kennedy. Everyone, thank you for listening, and as always, finish
Off.
it.